All right, so we're out here today to talk a little bit about James Nathaniel Craig Leslie. He never did return from the Civil War, and the thought is that he died of disease. He's never had a marker at the cemetery, and today we're going to put a memorial stone out by his wife's marker in the cemetery. James Nathaniel Craig is your great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather, and I think that would probably make us about second cousins, one time removed, or maybe uncle and nephew, or in this family, like you say, there could be.
Well, with this family,
Is it a pine tree or an oak tree?
I would say definitely with many limbs going out, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about that. What is the one of the most outstanding things that you know that you found out about your great-great-grandfather?
I think when James Faulkner Leslie would be my great-great-great-grandfather, when he and 16 families, and then plus extra families from Rock Hill, migrated to Arkansas in the 1850s. Two of his sons remained here, David Taylor Leslie and James Nathaniel Craig Leslie. So all of us, one way or the other, come from those two right there. And of course, we all come from James Faulkner Leslie, who came over from Lancaster. I know that he married Cynthia Jane Schooley. The Schooleys owned the property near Nations Ford. Well, Nations Ford, that was actually on it. The Hutchison property in Rock Hill now, but along the Catawba River.
Descendants of the Sturgis family.
The Sturgises and the Schooleys had, and in fact, there's that cemetery over there with 16 or 18 people buried there. He was a farmer, from what I understand, a blacksmith, and worked good with leather, so saddles and things like that too. In the letters that we have from him during the war, he always would make comments about, tell the boys hello, this, that, and the other. But we do know that from, I think, people that was in his company in Staunton, Virginia, that he had dysentery, which was common, and he was being sent to a hospital in Richmond and never made it there. So we have no idea exactly what happened.
Yeah, he had 4 children, 3 of which survived into adulthood. One being a daughter that never married, and the other 2 being David Taylor Leslie and James. Being
David Franklin Leslie.
David Franklin Leslie, and then the other was William.
Okay. William's buried in Laurelwood Cemetery.
Gotcha.
David Franklin is out here.
He also had a brother named Samuel David Leslie, who migrated to Arkansas with the father,
yes,
James Faulkner Leslie, and he also died in the Civil War as well. So there were 3 brothers,
right,
born in 1828, 1829, and 1830, and 2 of them did not survive the Civil War. So it was thought that this war was a rich man's war, correct?
It was.
So James Nathaniel Craig was conscripted,
Yes,
which is the older term for drafted,
right,
correct?
right.
So he really had no choice but to go fight in the war, as most Southern soldiers did. Most were conscripted. And we did see in his letters where he was talking about leaving and coming home, and he said a lot of the other soldiers were talking about leaving and coming home, but he didn't think that he would, and
right.
Obviously he didn't.
I know on my grandfather's side, on my other grandfather's side, he quite often talked about the rich man's war and how you had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
And this is off of James Nathaniel, but for instance, that grandfather was in charge of guarding prisoners somewhere near Union, South Carolina, but did not want to be there.
Right.
And wanted to be back working.
You could see that from the tone of Nathaniel Craig's letters that he would have much rather been home. He asked for tobacco several times and gloves and things like that, just things to make his life easier.
But I think the bottom line, my mother talked about it quite often, it was a shame that there was no marker.
Yeah.
And so I think this at least puts it by Cynthia Jane, his wife, some memorial for him.
What became of his widow, Cynthia Schooley Leslie, and the family after he left in the war?
After the war was over, it was said that she would go out into the road, which is now Leslie Highway, I guess, and would look up and down the road thinking he may come home. And he didn't. Later on, she packed up the family and they went to due west. She either ran or worked in the dining hall at Erskine College. Two of the boys met two of the Ellis girls. There were 18 in that family, 18 kids.
Wow.
And they married, and everybody came back here afterwards. So David Franklin married, and William married Ellis girls. And so we are descendants of those two lines of people.
All right, well, let's get out there and put the stone out and get the work done and see how it turns out.
If I can dig out right here, I'm thinking we can move this stone about 1 inch.
So you're thinking that we need to dig that out and move it over about 1 inch and level it, and then put the James Nathaniel Craig stone in between. This is the daughter that didn't ever have any children or marry.
Right.
Right. What was her name?
Frances Irene.
What do they call her?
Aunt.
Was it Aunt Fanny or something like that?
Fanny, I think.
Yeah. And this is Cynthia Jane's stone.
Right.
Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, we're done.
It's set.
Yeah. Our game plan here is to set James Nathaniel Craig Leslie's memorial stone between his daughter's stone that's to the left and his wife's stone that's to the right. The first step is to dig around his daughter's stone so that we can move it over to accommodate the extra space needed for his stone. The next step will be to dig in between the markers and begin prepping that area for his stone. Let's get under this from the back.
All right.
And tip it and get
Forward.
it out of here. Yeah. Try to turn it over.
All right. Now, there's no base. Yeah, there is a base.
Well, I don't know if it's it's concrete. So we're going to leave that there.
Yeah.
And we'll just put gravel in and try to move it.
Having temporarily moved his daughter's marker out of the way, we're now adding pea gravel to the gravesite so we can move her marker over a few inches and still have a solid base. An added benefit to what we're doing is that we're raising her marker, which has sunken considerably over the years.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, shouldn't be too bad. So
I'm going to dump some in the front too while I'm over here.
yeah. Well, if any, well, yeah, that's pretty good. So we're going to line it up. That's more than enough.
That measure. It's right there. We still need to move this back.
Yeah.
What did I say, 30 inches?
We need, that's 32. Shoot.
Good, it's perfect, because that'll give us a couple inches on each side.
Right. So I'm out an inch, but that's all right. It's the overhang on that that's doing it, so that won't matter.
At some point in this video, you may notice that the spelling of this last name is different from the other Stones. And that's an ongoing family conversation. But like a lot of families, there are multiple spellings of this last name. And it's not the first case of this happening in this cemetery.
Put a little bit of gravel in there.
Having prepped the ground and added the gravel as a base, we're ready to set the James Nathaniel Craig Leslie marker in its rightful place with his family, many years after he didn't return home from the Civil War.
Let me throw you some gravel.
Okay. Are you trying to say that we pull some of the gravel forward when we do that?
A little bit. Here, hold that.
Like, hold that back like that.
You got it?
Yeah, I got him.
Okay. We still need more of that.
Pull forward a little bit.
We need to go,
Well, we got to come back with the stone, right? To get.
well, let me
Well,
look
we're
at
good
it.
with that.
I don't think the angle of the cut matches on those two stones, so they're not going to be identical,
Right.
unless we just pitch it forward more. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's better. I hate to fool with it too much.
Yeah. That's hey, more than enough. That's
The problem is you start moving gravel.
yep.
What you got now?
I vote for leaving it where it is.
Okay. Because those two stones they're the same style, but they don't match.
No, different slant,
Yeah,
and
I'm good with it. So let's dig around the front of this one a little bit
right.
and see if we can't pull it up.
Come forward just an inch or so. Would be good.
And you dug it over here. on this
I
side.
came out right there, so I did.
The stones weren't aligned well before we began, and honestly, I just couldn't bear to leave them that way. So our final step was to align Cynthia Jane's stone with her husband and daughter's stone.